Assalamu alaikum, parents and students. Welcome to another week of distance learning. Please make sure when you log on to MS Teams that you click on the right channel. Today's subject is math, so we'll go ahead and click on the math channel, and then we will click on week 7 files because that is our week right now. When you click on week 7 files, you will find the attached online learning lesson plan, as well as worksheets, answer keys, and the PowerPoint. Parents, please make sure to check the lesson plan. In it, you will find the lesson overview, the success criteria, the learning steps and assignments, as well as our resources. All right, and students can use the answer key to self-assess after completing their worksheet. So let's go ahead and start our presentation for today. Today we'll be talking about AM and PM. We're going to be learning how to tell the time. All right, so our learning intention is that learners should be able to decide when to use AM and PM when telling time to the nearest minute. My success criteria is number 1, I can use AM and PM when telling time to the nearest minute, and number 2, I can relate times of day to AM and PM. Here is the vocabulary for this lesson. AM means the times after midnight and before noon. Midnight means 12 o'clock at night. Noon means 12 o'clock in the daytime. And PM means the times after noon and before midnight. All right, so these are your 4 vocabulary terms that are very important when you are trying to tell time. Please make sure that you click on the links to the lesson tutorials. These will be helpful when you are trying to decide when to use AM and PM. All right, so what does AM stands for? So AM stands for anti-meridium. This means before midday or before noon. The AM time period is the 12 hours from midnight until noon. 12 AM is the start of a new day. Now, what does PM stand for? PM stands for post-meridium or past midday. This means after midday or after noon. The PM time period is the 12 hours from noon until midnight. 12 PM starts the second half of the day. You can use a number line to show the sequence or order of events. It can help you understand the number of hours in a day. Now think. The distance from one mark to the next mark represents 1 hour. So here we've got midnight, and over here we have noon, and then we have midnight again. Now, from midnight until noontime, remember, midnight is just another way of saying middle of the night or the beginning of a new day. All right, until the noontime, we use AM. Okay, so this is 1 AM, 2 AM, 3 AM, 4 AM, 5 AM, 6 AM, 7 AM, which is usually when you guys come to school, 8 AM, 9 AM, 10 AM, 11 AM, and over here it switches to PM. Now it's 12 PM, and afterwards we continue 1 PM, 2 PM, 3 PM, and so on. All right? When we're thinking of AM and PM, AM starts at midnight and it goes on until midday. This is when we change to PM, and PM goes on from midday until midnight, and the circle starts again. All right, so remember, AM is the times from midnight until noon. All right, midnight until noon is AM. PM is the time from noon until midnight. Okay, and remember, noon means 12 o'clock in the day. Midnight means 12 o'clock at night. Now, let's think about telling time after midnight. Midnight is 12 at night. All right, that's 12 AM. The times after midnight and before noon are written with AM. what are some activities that you can do after midnight and before noon? Now let me think. After midnight and before noon, what can I do? Well, I can sleep, then wake up, brush my teeth, pray Fajr, eat breakfast, go to school, and do some school activities. This is all from after midnight until before noontime. How about the afternoon? Now, noon means 12 in the daytime. The times after noon and before midnight are written with PM. Okay, so what are some activities that I can do at noon and in the daytime? So I can eat my lunch, do some homework, pray Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. I can also play outside. I can also visit someone, eat some dinner, watch TV, and then head to sleep at 8 p.m. Okay, so if you see over here, Fajr is in the AM. Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha are all in the PM. So let's think. Let's look at this example and decide, is it AM or PM? My alarm clock is ringing and it says 6 o'clock. I roll out of bed. Think for a second, is it AM or PM? I'll give you a second. If you said AM, you are correct. Let's think of this example. Is it AM or PM? 2:10 is here. Time for the bus to pull out of the parking lot. Think to yourself, is this AM or PM? Take a second to answer. If you said PM, you are correct. Let's take another example. Is it AM or PM? The clock says 5:15. Time to jump in the car and head to soccer practice. Is it AM or PM? If you said PM, then you are correct. Here's another one. It's 11:50. I grab my lunchbox and head to the cafeteria. Is it AM or PM? If you said AM, you are correct. Well done. Here's another. It's 4 o'clock. It's time to play volleyball with my friends at the park. Think, is it AM or PM? If you said PM, you are correct. Alrighty, what time is it? Write the time and use AM or PM. So we're going to take a look at these two examples. This is the time when I have science class, and this is the time when I eat breakfast. So try to think, what is the time? And I need to make sure I use AM and PM. Take a second, think about it. All right, so when I have science class, I can see the hour hand is close to the 1, the minute hand is on the 4, and if I'm counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, it is 1:20 p.m. And when I eat breakfast, it is 7:17 a.m. All right, so science class is at 1:20 p.m., breakfast is at 7:17 a.m. Let's take another example. We're going to think, what time is it? And then we will write the time and use AM or PM. So here's my first example. I look up at the stars. What time is it? I get ready for bed. What time is it? I'll give you a minute and then we will reveal the answers. All right, if you're not done yet, you can go ahead and pause the video, write down your answers. I am going to show them to you now. When I look up at the stars, it is 9:23 and it's PM because the stars will be out at night, right? They'll be out in the evening time, so that's PM. And when I'm getting ready for bed, it's afternoon. Midnight is still not here. It is 8:12 p.m. All right, and if you got those correct, well done. If not, don't worry, your next try will be better. Alrighty, so let's write the time and make sure we use AM or PM. So here's our example. It is a quarter after 10 o'clock in the morning. A quarter after 10 o'clock. If we have split our clock into fours, then this is a quarter or 1/4 after 10 o'clock. So let's think. A quarter after 10 in the morning. What is the time? And give me AM or PM. I'll give you a second. If you want, you can pause the video, write down your answer. A quarter after 10 in the morning is 10:15 a.m. Think, if our clock is split into quarters, if it is split into fours, this first quarter is 15 minutes. Our next quarter is 30 minutes. The quarter after that, 45, and the quarter after that is our next hour. So a quarter, 1/4 after 10 in the morning is 10:15 a.m. Alrighty, what about this example? Write down the time. Make sure you use AM or PM. It is 7 minutes after 6 afternoon. 7 minutes after 6 afternoon. So why don't we start by writing down the first part, 7 minutes after 6. Let's write that down. 7 minutes after 6 is what? Take a second. You can use this clock as well if you're having some trouble. 7 minutes after 6. Then afternoon, is that AM or PM? So the answer is 6:07 p.m. because it's afternoon. Post meridian, afternoon. Alrighty, how about this example? It is a quarter before noon. So it's not noon yet, it's a quarter before noon. Do you see? We're in the last quarter of the hour. Remember how I told you if we split our clock into fours, this is a quarter before noon. This is my minute hand, and this is my hour hand. Alright, so my minute hand is right here. If we count by fives, then you can tell how many minutes. And my hour hand is going to be before the 12. That means it's going to be 11. Okay, so that's your hint. It's 11 and it's a quarter before noon. So I need to know my minutes. All right, so my minutes are 45. My hour is 11. The minutes are 45 and it is AM because it's before noon. Before noon means we are still in the morning time, before noon. All right, and at the end of the lesson, please make sure you do your worksheet and you can self-assess using the answer key. At the end of the lesson, we will also use an exit ticket to ask ourselves, what did you learn today? How did you find it? What is your next step? Do you have another goal with telling time? Tell me, what is your next step? And make sure you give your feedback using the learning pit. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. And make sure you tap on the online game to practice the skill that you just learned.